There is a brand new SORA competitor that is dropping in just a few days. Pika Labs dropped a video model that can create some pretty wild effects. We're going to compare the top 3 AI video generators on the market. So take off those sunglasses in an epic way, because this is AI film news. Let's kick things off by talking about Pika Labs' new 1.5 model. So there's 2 main components to this news. The first is they released Pika effects. And this is basically meme effects that do some pretty funny things if you upload an image. Let me show you how to use it. To use the effect inside of Pika, all you have to do is go to the pika.art website, and then go to the bottom and click on the image icon. And I have this picture of this animated frog here. We'll go ahead and import him into Pika, and then go down to Pika effect, and you'll see there's all these effects that you can select from. So let's go ahead and click inflate it, and go ahead and click render. So after just a few minutes, you'll get your video. So let's take a look here, and we have the frog, and he inflates. Oh no, that's great. So let's take a look at some of the other effects here. So I have this image and I want to turn it into a cake, and that gives us this video. So the truth is that water was cake all along. This is really going to complicate the is it cake show. So great, great result there. We can also crush objects. So we have this image of this Coca-Cola bottle, and it just slowly gets crushed. I'm not sure about the physics there. It kind of turns into both plastic and goo, which is kind of weird, but still pretty funny. It's October, so we have this image of a jack-o'-lantern, and let's blow it up. Majestic. And actually, this did a pretty good job. It actually does look like the inside of a pumpkin whenever it actually explodes. We can do our own version of Raiders of the Lost Ark and melt this guy's face. Oh no. Oh no. That's a lot of goo. That guy was very dense on the inside with a lot of liquid. And finally, we can squish this cactus here. And yeah, just kind of like turns into Play-Doh. Hopefully those spikes were fake. Now, obviously, these are gimmicky, and you're going to find some challenges with real-world application on an actual film project with these Pika effects. But it seems like these are kind of designed to be API driven with a social media app, to where, you know, you could definitely see tools like TikTok allowing people to create these types of videos. But that news is not the big news. The big news from Pika Labs is their 1.5 model that basically is promising more realistic generations. On their announcement, they said that this model will create realistic movement and big screen shots. So hypothetically, this model is being positioned as something that can be used on a professional workflow. But let's test it out. To use the 1.5 model, you just go to Pika's website, click on image, and select any image you want. We'll just select the image of our cactus there. And you can, of course, describe your shot and go ahead and click render. And I would love to show you the results from Pika Labs, but the problem is, in our test, we waited over 24 hours and we've yet to generate a single shot from Pika. So at this point, I'm not too sure what is going on there. Hopefully they have it fixed in the next few days. However, if you go to the Explore page, Pika Labs did release some AI videos that were created with the model using image input. So I decided to take the first frame of those videos and run it through Runway to do a quick model comparison. Let's take a look. All of these videos were created with image to video, not just text to video. So we have this shot here of this woman racing downhill on a longboard. And, you know, it looks pretty good. I think things begin to break down towards the end, but, you know, at a quick glance, it looks okay. And then here's the same result from Runway. You can see that it actually is going in reverse. I think if we reversed the speed here, it would look fairly realistic. But again, it's in slow motion, which makes it kind of challenging to use. We have this bullet time shot basically floating around the furniture. And yeah, I kind of did a quick little bullet time shot. And we have the same thing here with Runway, but I don't think Runway really did a bullet time shot. And I should note that with all of the Runway generations, I generated the result 3 times just because, of course, Pika, they're trying to pick and choose the best shot. So I wanted to be a fairly reasonable comparison here. So I think in this instance, Pika won. We have a bullet time shot of like a knight holding a sword in the air. And here's the same shot from Runway, not getting any sort of 360 tracking or bullet time action there, but the animation looks okay. We have a chameleon doing push-ups inside of Pika. Yep, he's doing push-ups, nice. And we have the same chameleon inside of Runway and really struggling to do that push-up. We have this guy making a heart with his hands. Yeah, looks pretty good. And here's the result from Runway, and I love it. I think that the hands look like this guy's hands. He's wearing jewelry that looks like the type of jewelry that this guy would be wearing. I think it did a great job. We have this shot of this guy just like walking around the Arctic. Okay, looks pretty good. And then we have the shot from Runway, and I just love the amount of expression here, or I guess lack thereof. I just hear that like "Hello Darkness, my old friend" playing whenever we zoom in on this guy's face. So it's great. We have this shot of this like pink character running. Now I should note that the prompt from Pika was slow motion running, and then we got this character that basically looks like they're running in real time. However, if you compare it to the same result inside of Runway, again with the prompt of slow motion running, you can see that the character very much is in slow motion, and there's a lot of that slow motion weight in the fur. So I think Runway really did a better job here. And finally, we have a girl doing a peace sign. You can see that we have this result here, and there's something really off here. Number one, her teeth, I feel like they're all connected, which is very off-putting. And then the peace sign, her fingers are like the same length as her entire hand, which I don't love, and I don't really know what's happening to her thumb there. So very weird result from Pika Labs, but how does that compare to Runway? I've seen a lot of 6-finger generations, but this is one of my favorite. It's like she has like a normal hand and then just like an extra index finger coming off the end there. So not a great result from Runway. So all in all, with this news from Pika, it does seem like there are some select cases where camera movement could hypothetically be better with the new Pika 1.5 model. The problem is everyone that I've talked to cannot get Pika 1.5 to actually generate any video, and that includes people on a paid plan. So that's kind of weird. Hopefully Pika fixes that model very soon. As you can see, even with some of the examples from Pika's website, Runway still does a better job in 50% of the cases off of just 3 generations. So at this time, I really just don't see a reason to switch from Runway, Kling, or Luma Labs if your goal is to create the maximum professional quality possible. For our next bit of news, we are going over to China to talk about a brand new AI video model that looks like a very real competitor to SORA. It's all part of a big announcement from ByteDance, who are the owners of TikTok and CapCut. The company has announced a new initiative called Duo Bao. It's essentially an open AI competitor that can do everything from LLMs to audio generation, image generation, but also video generation. So the video generations come from a sub-company called Volcano Engine, which has to be one of my favorite company names that I've heard in a long time. And in case you're wondering, if you type in Volcano Engine into Runway, you get this result, which is essentially a volcano mixed with a steam engine. The company has released 2 new AI video models, Pixel Dance and Seaweed. Pixel Dance is more of the professional model, whereas Seaweed can create longer generations up to 30 seconds long. It seems like the quality is probably not quite as good from Seaweed. I'm going to focus on Pixel Dance because that's the model that we've seen the most announcements from. The model will be able to do text to video and image to video. Let's take a look at the first example here. So we have this shot of this model, and she was prompted to take off her sunglasses. You can see she took off the sunglasses and walks away, and all of that was prompted for. And those physics are really incredible. So a few quick things to note from this shot alone: the pattern on her shirt is really crazy, and it actually does a pretty good job at keeping it fairly stable. It actually understands the physics and the shadows whenever she is taking off her sunglasses, which looks pretty darn good. And just the general camera movement and the overall continuity, it looks fairly realistic. You can also see as she walks by the statue, her shadow hits the statue, which really helps to sell the overall effect. Now, you may be wondering how that compares to Runway. So we did image to video off the first frame and got this video from Runway. And I don't know what's happening with her hands. And she just decides to put on an extra set of sunglasses. I guess she's looking at like a solar eclipse or something. So as you can see, this model, at least from the quick test here, seems like it's going to be even more powerful than Runway. There's something about this model where it can understand physics and 3D space in a way that is different from other AI video generators on the market. Now let's take a deeper look at some of the physics here. So we have this shot here of this man drinking coffee. You can see that he picks up the coffee cup and there's just a lot of continuity there. This woman comes over, just kind of brushes his shoulder. You can see there's impact on his shoulder whenever she touches the leather of his jacket there. So some really incredible physical interaction. We also have this shot here of this woman. She removes her sunglasses, looks over her shoulder, rack focus to reveal some bad guys. So that's an incredibly dynamic camera shot. There's a lot of character development and information that's being conveyed to the audience from that shot, and it looks pretty darn realistic. It's also very good at taking directorial control. So we have an input image here, and whenever you type in the prompt, the woman smiles, lowers her head, the camera pulls away, and a white man looks at the woman. We have this video result, and you can see that, yeah, she looks down. The camera basically reframes to reveal the man. Now, is this perfect? Of course not. There's definitely some weirdness, especially if you take a look at this video in the reflections there. It looks like she's against some glass, but then as the camera pans away, the glass just like miraculously like is pushed to the side in kind of a weird way. So not 100% realistic, but it is taking a lot more of the directions that we are asking for. It also has the ability to create multiple shots from a single prompt. So for example, we have this shot here of this like Grim Reaper, and he is approaching this woman and she's screaming, and all of that is simply from one prompt. We have this shot here of this like Cthulhu scene. He looks up with his binoculars, and then there's just like some sort of like abstract character. Okay, cool. We also have this scene here of a robot picking up his gun, shooting a green laser at a different robot. He blows up, and then it cuts to a wide shot and the robot walks away. That's pretty cool. But the thing that makes it even cooler is the fact that all of those camera shots were prompted for. So it started out by describing the robot raising the rifle, shooting the laser, and then the camera cuts and you see the other robot and it hits his body, and then he explodes, and then it says the scene changes and it cuts to the final shot with the robot basically turning around and walking off screen. So the amount of control that we're seeing from this tool is better than any other AI video generator on the market. We also have this emotive scene of this woman. She starts to cry. The guy bends down and bows, looks up at her to reveal she is crying. So obviously doing a pretty good job there. We also have really dynamic camera movements. For example, this shot here of this kind of model just standing there. And you can see that as the camera gets closer to her face, the background, all of that parallaxing looks incredibly realistic. And then also just smaller details like the depth of field becoming increasingly more blurry as you get closer to your subject. That's replicating real life camera dynamics in a fairly realistic way. So it did a really good job here. Now, it's not all perfect. There is some weirdness. For example, we have this shot of this surfer guy here. You can see that his hair just like completely changes, and he kind of has that same teeth problem in a few parts. It's not a bad video generation, but it's not great. Like, you probably would never use it on a professional project. And I should note that this video was a part of their announcement, so they really feel like this video embodies some of the very best generations that are possible with this AI video model. Now, one of the immediate problems that we've seen with this AI video generator is the fact that all of the examples we have so far are only in 12 frames per second. So obviously you need 24 frames per second if you're working on a film project. So you would have to take all of the video clips and interpolate them in a tool like Topaz Video AI. All of the video clips that you saw in this example used Topaz Video AI to basically smooth out the result. The other problem is the fact that from the language in the announcement, they are looking to specifically target enterprise customers, which means for us as everyday creatives, it might be a pricey tool to use. Now, there's no word on what the pricing will be. Perhaps it will be actually very competitive pricing that will make it possible to create lots of videos for an affordable price, but we simply don't know at this time. They announced that this video tool will be available in mid-October. You can like and subscribe here to Curious Refuge to know when the new video model drops. I think this is a big deal because it's really showing that the global competition for the AI video market is really heating up. Obviously, you have incredible Chinese models like Kling that showcase some of the better physics on the market whenever you compare them to other tools like Runway or Luma, which we will do later in this video. That increased competition will probably drive the prices down and make things more affordable for everyday artists. And until SORA is released, it seems like these Chinese video models will probably be the best on the market, but we'll know for sure in a couple weeks. The team at Luma Labs also came out with the news that their Dream Machine AI video model is now 10 times faster, and it can create clips in less than 20 seconds. The interesting difference between this announcement from Luma and the Runway Turbo model announcement is the fact that the Luma model is actually their best model that is being generated super quickly, whereas the Turbo model of Runway is kind of a lesser version of Runway. So in terms of overall quality for the amount of time that it takes to generate the video, Luma is a better bet. Now, that's really important news if you use some of the APIs, but if you're an everyday creator, the difference between 20 seconds and 90 seconds, especially if you're generating more than one video clip at a time, is kind of negligible. So I imagine that for most people, the unlimited version of Runway is probably the best bang for your buck. I also came across a white paper that is really interesting. It's called Spark, and it solves a very practical problem in professional filmmaking. So right now, if you want to scan someone's face to basically create a virtual avatar for them inside of a film, whether you're doing face swapping or legitimately creating a conversational avatar, you basically have to bring someone in, you have to scan their face, and it's really a whole crazy process. However, this tool allows you to upload footage of a person, and it will use all of that pixel data to create a 3D map that can be used to motion track, face swap, and basically get all of the information that you need to do a professional face swap directly inside of the tool. This is a big deal because it essentially unlocks 3D face reconstruction to the masses. So you don't have to be the biggest movie star in the world with a big contract to go into a very expensive studio to get scanned to put your likeness into a film. You actually have the ability to inject yourself or one of the actors you're working with into a feature film project just using video footage alone. Over at OpenAI, Mira Murati has announced that she will be stepping down as CTO of OpenAI. Now, the announcement letter that she wrote is kind of vague, but there's kind of two main reasons that people are pointing to for why she would exit such a prominent role at a leading company. Number one is the fact that OpenAI is increasingly becoming a for-profit company. So they started out as nonprofit, and it's basically abundantly clear now that it's very much going to be a for-profit company going forward. And number two, because of her financial incentives at OpenAI, she very much could just go to any VC in Silicon Valley and probably raise $1 billion to start her own company. So I don't think this is the last that we've seen from her. I imagine we'll see even more announcements in the very near future. The governor of California vetoed an AI safety bill that had some things that could be helpful, but also some things that were kind of overreaching and probably would stifle creativity. So the bill specifically requested that AI companies have a kill switch that allows them to turn off their AI technology if it decides to go rogue, which that actually sounds pretty good. But the second part of the legislation is that it was going to require AI companies to become liable if their technology basically created harm. Now, that sounds good at a quick glance. It's like, yes, if your AI system does something, you should be responsible. Now, the problem is practical application. The science is already out about social media having an incredibly detrimental impact on individuals and society at large, and those use AI systems. So would this allow for people to sue Facebook for it becoming addictive or making them depressed? Chances are the answer could be yes. However, this is just the beginning, and I imagine we're going to see a ton of AI legislation in the coming months. In the last few months, AI video generators have become incredible, but the problem is there's so many tools out there, you're probably like, which one is best? So I wanted to do just a quick comparison in this episode to compare the top 3 generators on the market. We have Luma, Kling, and Runway. Now, I'm only going to be using tools that allow you to do image to video, so no Minimax. So we have this image of this woman in New York. I wanted to basically prompt a shot of her walking down the street with handheld tracking and motion. And this is the result that we got from Luma. It's actually not too bad. Her eyes get a little weird, but I actually think it did a pretty good job. Here's the result from Runway. And it seems like it increased the contrast, but there's a lot of weight in her step, so not too bad. And finally, here's the result from Kling. And yeah, it looks pretty good. She's not walking as much, but I do like the physics of the environment, and the handheld camera movement seems very realistic. Next up, we have this image of this woman talking in a cafe, and we have the result from Runway, and it looks pretty good. Her head's kind of moving around a little fast, but not too bad. We also have this shot from Luma. It's pretty expressive. Her lips are kind of the most concerning part, but if you were working on a professional project, you'd probably do lip replacement anyways, so not too bad. And finally, we have Kling here. And the Kling result, again, I like the camera movement, but the actual physics of her head, they seem a little fast. And that's true for most Kling generations. I think Kling, in order to make their video model not generate slow motion footage, they add more distortion, and it can kind of make the characters move in unrealistic ways. And finally, I wanted to do a real dynamic camera tracking shot where it basically orbits around this football player to reveal a crowd. So we have this shot from Runway, and yeah, reveals a crowd and everyone's cheering. Pretty good. We have this shot from Luma, and there's something really wrong about his arm there, and his face really breaks down there towards the end, but pretty good. And here's the result from Kling. So really dynamic movement. There's some flickering there, but the people in the background, they really are kind of like clapping, and it looks pretty good. Now, my main concern here is, what is that name? Ayubi? That's his last name, Ayubi? Okay. And his number is double backwards C, so pretty funny. So as you can see, there are pros and cons to using all of these AI video generators. If I had to pick just one, I would pick Runway because they have an unlimited model. But the truth is, if you talk to professionals using AI on real-world projects, they will go to certain tools for certain shots, and it's kind of a pick and choose depending on the specific shot and action that you're looking for. There are also a ton of AI film events popping up around the world. On October 10th, the Curious Refuge community is hosting a meetup in Stockholm. On October 10th, I will also be speaking at a public AI event at Chapman University in Orange County. If you're in the area and you don't normally get up to Los Angeles, be sure to come by and say hello. On October 14th, the Culver Cup AI competition will finally wrap up, and there will also be a generative AI meetup, and the Korean International AI Film Festival is happening on October 25th. There's also time to join our second annual AI horror film competition. You have until October 18th to submit your film and get your shot at a prize pool of $5,000, but more specifically, you have a shot to win a cursed potato, which is just the best prize I've ever seen. And that brings us to our AI films of the week. The first film that I want to talk about is Beatrice by Faith Ko, Claire Shin, and Justin Rhee. It was the Grand Prix winner for the Runway 48-hour film competition, and it really combines an emotional narrative with super realistic AI visuals. It's stylized, there's film grain on it. It really is an amazing film. The next film that I want to highlight is Battalion by the instructor of AI advertising, Dave Clark. It's one of Dave's first AI short films, and it really does showcase a very real story of the 320th African American Unit in World War II at D-Day. And so it's pretty cool because it tells a story using footage that would have been impossible to get from the archival record. It obviously showcases an incredible use of AI technology to tell compelling stories. And the final project that we're going to take a look at is called Love You More by the Door Brothers. They created a music video for Snoop Dogg. Now, the music video, it's kind of like a crazy AI montage of just cool AI visuals, but it's cool to see that big artists and celebrities are embracing the tools and working with AI artists to collaborate on cool projects. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of AI Film News. Of course, if you want to get AI Film News sent directly to your email inbox, you can subscribe over on Curious Refuge, and you can like and subscribe here on YouTube to get the latest news directly here on the platform. Now, since we have a few seconds remaining here, I'm going to tell you a few jokes from ChatGPT about sunglasses. Why did the sunglasses always bring a spare pair? Because they didn't want to be left in the dark. What did the left lens say to the right lens? Between you and me, something smells. Okay.